As the sun rises, so do we. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 10th episode of the SunRising podcast. My name is Colin,
And my name is Taylor.
and in this episode, we'll be talking everything Mandalorian, and specifically, we will be looking at Star Wars The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 5, that's Chapter 13, The Jedi. We'll go through a little bit of an overview of the topic, and then we'll break down some of the big plot details that were discovered during this rewatch. This is Episode 10. Let's see where the day takes us. And obviously, first things first, we have an elephant in the room that we need to address. So this is Taylor, not Jackson, obviously. Say hi, Taylor.
Everyone?
So Taylor will be joining us for a little bit. Jackson just had to take a break for a while. Once everything related to COVID and all that started, he just needed some time for himself and his family. So we're giving him that time. And in the meantime, Taylor graciously was able to take up the role in his place for a while. So thank you so much for that. That's awesome.
Of
um,
course, of course.
Yeah, and then we both like Star Wars, so we started talking, and we decided that it would be really fun to go through the Mandalorian Season 2, since we both watch it. It's a great series, and we were both intrigued. So we started rewatching The Mandalorian Season 2, and we watched this latest episode, and we wanted to do our little podcast about it again and start things back up. So, well, I guess overall, in general, what were your thoughts in a general term of the episode, Taylor?
I liked it. When it started, I was taken by surprise by how they revealed Ahsoka
Yes,
within
that's true.
like the first minute. I was not expecting it. I wasn't even expecting it till the next episode, if I'm
Yeah,
being
I
honest.
I thought it was going to be a little later too, but I'm glad that they came in, and I hope she's still here for a while. By the way, spoilers.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that. Um, but we'll get into the Mandalorian a little bit here. We're just going to talk about some life stuff for a little bit, and then if you want to skip right to the Mandalorian content, just go to the timestamp right here on the screen. But if you want to stay here and listen to some life updates before I get started with that, then well, you're more than welcome to just stay here and watch. But so, with that being said, um, got anything fun and exciting going on in your life, Taylor?
Uh, as of late, not really.
It's kind of hard with everything going on. I understand.
Yeah. I guess I'll introduce myself a little bit.
Yeah, sure, that
Um,
works.
Colin and I were roommates in college for the first year,
Yep.
but before that, we were friends since middle school, and we would play Halo and a bunch of other stuff together. And here we are.
Yes, we had
Lately,
we had great summer school of seventh grade where we did flag football, and that's where we met each other. Was we were on opposite teams, and there was a lot of come at me bros, and that's kind of how everything started.
mm-hmm. Yeah, those were the days, huh?
Oh yeah, they were pretty fun. Sorry, I totally just took a chip, and then you like kind of did a question that made me have to respond. So now I'm kind of screwed. But one moment. So yeah, Taylor and I have known each other for a long time, and we played a lot of games, and we were both kind of interested in the whole podcasting idea. So I thought it was a great idea to bring him into the channel. That's kind of a bit of podcasting and a bit of gaming. So that's why everything kind of happened. But that being said, I think we could probably jump right into an overview of the episode. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so this episode starts off with Ahsoka Tano, and she is fighting the Magistrate Henchman. It's a very similar feel to like Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi, where it opens with him just mowing down the troops kind of feel. So you got Ahsoka Tano, the big reveal. Everyone heard that she was making an appearance in this season, so she comes out with the nice white lightsabers and is battling the henchmen. And then after that, that's on the planet Corvus, and it kind of takes a little jump. And after she gives the magistrate a day to give up the location of their master, it cuts to Mandalorian landing on the Corvus planet, where he reaches a gate and introduces himself as a bounty hunter. Because they see he's a bounty hunter, he's immediately taken to that magistrate. But as he's being taken there, he sees some prisoners being electrocuted in the little cages. It's a very similar feel where like they're being electrocuted. You see the bones, kind of like what is it? Return of the Jedi, episode 6, where Darth Sidious is kind of electrocuting Vader as he's throwing Sidious off the little reactor thing, and he's got all the skeleton kind of glow going. Same feel. Good CGI. I really like how this season in particular and last season are really trying to match some of the similar feels as those original trilogy. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think it was episode 1 where you get the Boba Hutt kind of sploof where they talk about that guy's backstory where the planet Death Star like explodes. They used like the old schooly like 80s graphics for that explosion. I really like how they're bringing in that kind of stuff and really sticking with the lore as close as they can. So something kind of fun. So Mandalorian gets the magistrate, and the magistrate basically tasks him with killing the Jedi Asoka Tano, and in return, she'll give him this Beskar spear, which is you find out later. Beskar and the spear in particular is really great weapons, and obviously the Mandalorians really like their Beskar. So it's definitely a tempting offer for him. So he goes into the woods, says he'd accept this. In reality, he's trying to figure out with what to do with Baby Yoda here, the child, trying to in, get him involved with the Jedi so that they can know what to do with him and help train him. So that's the whole feel of what's been happening so far in season 2. So he gets into the woods. Ahsoka starts to attack him, and you get to see how good that Bastille armor is with deflecting lightsaber blades, and it really goes with the Mandalorian lore of how Jedi and Mandalorians were always historically big competitors with each other because the lightsabers will bounce off the armor, and the both the Jedi and the Mandalorians are both heavily like militarized, and know very good fighting tactics. So it just kind of was a cool feel with that. Eventually, though, it leads to Mandalorian saying that Bo Katan sent him, and when he says that, Ahsoka Tano says that she just kind of stops fighting, and that's when everything calms down. Ahsoka then meets the child, kind of a little sit by the campfire, no talking kind of thing. But the no talking was them kind of utilizing the Force back and forth with each other. That's when you get the one of the big reveals of this episode. You get Baby Yoda's name is Grogu. Kind of don't not sure how I feel about that. I think it's kind of cool, but uh, she says that she's only ever seen one other being like him. She's referring to here Yoda. But there's one other being that she might have seen, which is Yodel. So R.I.P. Yodel, because she probably would have seen him too. But just with the episode how it went, she just said Yoda.
I don't
Um,
know if
Go for it.
she ever met Yaddle because I think Yaddle. I don't know if this is canon. I don't know. I haven't really kept up super close, but I'm pretty sure Yaddle left the Order before Attack of the
Oh,
Clones.
that's true. I think you're right. I think Yaddle was only in episode 1 where they bring
Mm-hmm.
in the young Anakin Skywalker after Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan bring him in. So I think you're right. I think that was episode 1 was his appearance, and then he left before episode 2 and 3 would have taken place. So yeah, you might be right. So yeah, Yaddle left early. So that's a good point. So she would not have met Yaddle. So it does make sense that Yoda would have been the only one that she would have had the similar race encounter with. But you also get to learn that Grogu was raised in the Jedi Temple and had many different masters that taught him the ways of the Force, which kind of an interesting thought. Kind of hopefully we learn more about that and how maybe he was protected during the Clone Wars and Order 66. Could be an interesting topic to get into later. But Soka refuses to train him because she is fearful of him going down the dark path due to loss of a loved one. Basically, what she's doing here, she's relating her experience with Anakin Skywalker and how his love for Padme and his love for his mom. And when those people like died, they brought him really into the dark side of the Force, and him fearing for their death or fearing for them getting hurt, that really kind of pushed him towards darkness. And she's kind of afraid that Grogu now might be having a similar thing if something were to happen to Mando. So she's out of fear of taking him in. She doesn't want to do that, but Mando kind of strikes a deal with her where he will dispose of the magistrate in exchange for her training Grogu. She agrees to that, so the two of them storm the city. You see Ahsoka chopping a bell in half, kind of looking awesome, pretty
Oh
badass.
yeah.
Ahsoka then versus the Magistrate and wins. Where this is the second big reveal of the episode, and that's that the Magistrate's master was Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's pretty awesome. Then Mando goes to the ship to get the child, kind of a sad goodbye, but eventually then he goes to follow up on his end of the deal, but Ahsoka still won't train him, but instead says he should take the child to a new planet, Tython, where he can meditate on a rock in the Jedi Temple, and a Jedi Master will come to him, and then that will allow Grogu to decide his own fate. Yeah, that's pretty much where the episode ends, and that's a little bit of an overview. So, where do you
Yeah,
want
I think
to
that.
start off of this?
Well, I think that was a pretty good overview. I think something that I thought really stood out to me was how Ahsoka didn't want to train him. Um,
Yeah.
I thought I thought the way she left. Oh, Clone Wars spoilers, by the way.
Yes.
But
Yes.
if you haven't watched Clone Wars yet, what are you doing? Um, I think she saw what was wrong with the Order and like how they were all kind of one-sided. Like the dark side is evil. Like stay away from it. And I think that's kind of where they fell short of their teachings and why they eventually, I guess you could say, blinded by the light.
Yeah. Good
And why
puns.
Luke was such a successful Jedi. He was trained by Yoda and Obi-Wan, who saw the downfall of the Jedi, and obviously Yoda being such a great master. And he was like, what, 900? He had so
Yeah,
much
something
time
like
to,
that.
yeah, meditate. And then at the end, or I don't know, somewhere in the middle of The Last Jedi, sorry, I'm jumping around, the
It's
middle of The
okay.
Last Jedi with when Yoda showed up and Luke was freaking out about the sacred texts.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yoda
Yoda
just
just kind
wants
of
him to
seemed
let it die.
really, yeah, he seemed very let it go, you
Yeah.
know.
Let go of the
Um,
past, burn the books.
mhm. And while some people have different opinions about that and about Luke in The Last Jedi, I think Luke would have been a good teacher for Grogu. Um,
Yeah.
but
Um,
I
Go
go
ahead.
on.
Continue your thought.
But I would have also thought that Ahsoka would have, after she left the Order, and if you've seen the last 4 episodes of season 7 of the Clone Wars, that it seemed to me like she saw what was wrong with the Jedi, and I feel like she would have seen that and would have been better prepared to train a a Force user. I don't want to say a
Yeah, I kind of
Jedi.
would think that she would pick up Grogu and train him to teach him the right ways of doing things. Like you kind of had the
Mhm.
Jedi Order and the Sith Order, and both of them had their own flaws and differences in many people's eyes. But I think I was surprised that she didn't want to train him too, because I feel like Ahsoka, with everything she went through, and we can talk about Ahsoka in a little bit here and who she is if you don't know her history, but with everything Ahsoka's been through, I would have thought that maybe she would have taken up Grogu, maybe she still will in a later episode, and just teach him kind of the right ways of doing things. Like, you don't need to be as strict as the Jedi Order was kind of being, and you don't have to be part of the dark side either, but there's that gray area kind of in the middle where if you are following kind of like a similar feel of the Jedi Order, but not necessarily all the strict guidelines, kind of like what uh, Yoda, what Ahsoka, what Luke Skywalker all kind of went with, which made them great Jedi's. Like that's really probably the best bet for the order that we see in the future episodes. Then,
Mhm. I feel like if she would have trained him, though, if she would have just taken him up right there, they would have had to end the show early. So I
yeah,
feel like they needed something to keep going. I
that's
feel like
true.
once Grogu and Din Djarin. I think that's his name. The
Yep,
Mandalorian.
yep.
I'll just call him Mando. When they split, I feel like that's going to be the end of the show.
I think so too, or at least the end of the season or something. But I
Mm,
know they go hand in hand. Like you can't really have it's the show's called The Mandalorian, but you can't have the Mando without the child. So
yeah.
you might be right about that as the series ending, or at least the season ending with a split. So I
That
guess
makes me. Go ahead.
do you want to talk? Unless you had a thought that you want to finish up here with what we were just talking about, do you want to do a little explanation of who Ahsoka Tano is?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give a little explanation. Should I start from the beginning? I guess of
Um,
like from like the Clone Wars movie.
sure, we can do like a small recap, kind of quick little minute, 2 minute kind of recap of her life and her experience. So we don't need to go
Sure.
super in depth, but kind of explain where she's at the start of
Okay.
this season.
Yeah. Okay. So feel free to chime in if I get anything wrong.
Yeah,
Um, but so when the Clone Wars started, Anakin uh, was assigned a Padawan who turned out to be Ahsoka Tano, and throughout the Clone Wars, they got really close and they bonded, and they started to see each other more of I feel like equals rather than like master and Padawan.
yeah, I definitely see where you're going with that. Yeah, definitely like an
Hmm.
equal thing rather than Master Jedi or Master Apprentice.
And then they it was I would think probably the majority, if not almost, well, I would say from up until a couple weeks before Revenge of the Sith takes place, I would say she was with Anakin, and then she left the Order because she was um, framed for a bombing at the temple, and some stuff went down, and she left because the Jedi Order was, hmm,
Like
yeah, it's starting to
strict,
get a little
like
foggy.
yeah, she felt like it was pretty strict and like where they call right and wrong was kind of foggy to her. But yeah, so yeah,
Hmm.
she
Yeah,
leaves.
yeah. So she left, yeah, and then she went down to the lower levels of Coruscant, met some people. Then she ran into Bo-Katan, and was that when she met Bo-Katan, or did they meet before? Do you know?
I believe that's about when they met. I don't think they met before.
Okay, so that's when they met, and then they went to Obi-Wan and Anakin to help defeat Darth Maul, on Mandalore.
Yeah, Maul had kind of been part of the Death Watch siege, and that's when he eventually gets the dark saber, and then he takes
Hmm.
over. But a lot of Mandalorians didn't want him in power, and people like Bo-Katan needed help to kind of reconquer Mandalore. So that's where we're at here.
Hmm. And then Anakin's all excited to see her, and but she's like all business,
Hmm.
like all business. He's like, "Hey, let's catch up. Let's chill, get some tea." And then all of a sudden, um, Coruscant's under attack. Obi-Wan comes up. Oh, she got her lightsabers back from Anakin because he found them after she
Yep,
lost them. There's just so much. It's hard to stay
that's okay.
like
She has
in line.
lightsabers, but
Yep.
basically, I guess her
Yeah.
story kind of wraps up in the Clone Wars. You see towards the end, Darth Vader, Anakin, after he's turned to Darth Vader, kind of thinks she's dead, but
Yeah.
she's not.
Yeah. And then in Rebels, you see I think it was when Darth Vader was attacking a small rebel fleet.
Yeah, he
Ahsoka was with
sensed her.
yeah, he could sense her. The apprentice lives, he
Hmm.
said. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's basically two of the big points within the next series that kind of takes place. Rebels, um, and then those two later find each other in Rebels again, where they meet face to face for the first time since they were master student and it was Anakin and Ahsoka as a Jedi. And then towards the end of Rebels, you get Darth Vader now versus Ahsoka, who has kind of left the Jedi Order. And they have a big battle. Some explosions happen. Both aren't sure if the other one's alive, but it ends off with kind of both going their separate ways, and that's when we see Ahsoka now.
Hmm.
So that's kind of a life story of Ahsoka. If you want to know more about it, I recommend for sure Clone Wars. Watch that if you want to know more about Ahsoka. Rebels is pretty good. It explains another one of our big hints that we got in this episode too. Which, if you want to know more about that guy, who Grand Admiral Thrawn is, Rebels is your go-to show. So you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. But it was a great way of this series to tie into previous animated series. So
There is more to Admiral Thrawn. I think it came out in like the 90s or something that had a book series about him. I heard it was really good. Um, I don't. It's not canon
I know what you're
anymore.
talking about. I've seen those books. I just haven't read them. But yeah, I don't think it's technically canon, but it's like his first kind of introduction.
I do hope we get some Admiral Thrawn before the season is over. Hopefully before like the last episode of the season.
Yeah, I hope
I
to
don't want
see
it to be a
him.
5 minute cameo. I want to see him kick butt. You know what I mean?
I want to see him in action. If that means the season ends off with you seeing him and he's going to be set up as like the big bad for season 3, like I'd be okay with that. I just want to see action of him I want to see him in a live action adaptation.
Hmm. That's something I'm really excited for.
Yeah, so Grand Admiral Thrawn, if you don't know, he was in Star Wars Rebels. He was the big bad guy for that animated series. And Star Wars Rebels takes place after around episode 3 and before episode 4, kind of around the time as Rogue One. It's where oh shoot, wait, no. Yeah, this is the first Strings of the Republic, right? Or is it after episode 6 before 7?
Rebels. I think Ezra and Luke are like around the same age.
Yeah, okay, so it's
So I think
between
it's like
3 and 4.
9 or like 10 BBY, which is before
Yeah.
the Battle of Yavin, which is episode 4
So
for no one who
between 3
knows.
and 4, it's where the Rebel Alliance forms, and you kind of get to see that forming in that series, and that's why it's called Star Wars Rebels. So, Grand Admiral Thrawn is the big bad. He's trying to find out where the Rebels' base is. He's a great Imperial strategist who's able to narrow down the location of the Rebel base by syncing locations of transmissions and battles. He likes to gather all sorts of artifacts from battle scenes that he has with the Rebels. But you really see his intelligence as a Grand Admiral come out, and he's just like he's one of those villains who not necessarily has a lot of power, but his like brain thinking skills, like his analytic skills, his fighting skills, it's all pretty good, and that's what makes him a powerful foe for the Rebel Alliance because he's physically strong. He's like mentally very uh, adapt, I guess I could say. But he's a blue guy. We'll flash an image on the screen so you can see him. But yeah, he's a major character, and if you want to know even more about him, I'd watch some of the Star Wars Rebels series. Do you have anything to add about him?
Um, I guess the only thing that really popped into my head was when you said his skills were pretty good. Um, I would say that's kind of an understatement. I mean, he's a Grand Admiral
Yeah.
for a reason, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was a little bit of an understatement, but he's a very powerful foe, and I don't know much about his lore besides what I've seen in Star Wars Rebels, but he's definitely will be a challenge if he becomes the big bad for Mandalorian season 3 or more of the second half of season 2.
I hope that if they do have him in there, I hope they have more of an Imperial presence on the show, like
Yeah.
more Death Troopers, more um even a space battle. I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Moff Gideon definitely has some of that going for him, and I think we'll definitely see more of
Mm,
that in the second half. But it might be interesting to see if like maybe Moff Gideon and Admiral Thrawn are working together or something, and that's how we get introduced to him. But yeah, I think that Imperial side, what's left over from the Empire after the fall of the Death Star, I think that could be a very cool place to go with everything.
I wonder if Moff Gideon is working under excuse me, Admiral Thrawn,
Hmm, that's an interesting concept too.
kind of
Definitely
like
could be a possibility.
you think the big bad guy for the first season is it, but no, he has another master,
Yeah.
like like Vader
Yep.
and the Emperor.
Yeah, kind of just like that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely could be a possibility. I think we can jump into probably our last topic then. I think one of the big things that stood out to me as well was the fact that Ahsoka Tano tells the Mando to bring Grogu to the Jedi Temple where he can meditate, and if he reaches out with the light side of the Force, a Jedi Master will come to him. And I think it's important to note who is still alive as a Jedi at this time period. This is after the Order 66, so many of the Jedi's have been killed. So that only leaves a select few. I put together a short little list of who could potentially take on Grogu. Um, but some of my thoughts would be Luke Skywalker. He's obviously still alive during this time period, although we don't know. He might be in that isolation state still, but he also might be in the process of training Kylo Ren, Ben Kenobi, not Ben Kenobi, sorry, Ben Solo. So maybe one of those two could potentially be and could potentially be the ones that come to him, but I kind of doubt it. I think they're going to keep those two away from the series. But kind of with Luke, you get Leia. Again, probably not very likely, but could potentially be the fact because you see Leia is force sensitive in the last movie of the Star Wars series, Episode 9. So could be a possibility there. Ahsoka Tano might still turn around. She's there. She could still potentially turn around and decide, like we kind of talked about before, maybe she will try to train him in the right ways of the Force. Um, Also, Ezra Bridger, he's around from Star Wars Rebels. He was a key player in that series, and the last time you saw him was jumping into hyperspace with Grand Admiral Thrawn at the end of Star Wars Rebels. So, if you get Admiral Thrawn, we might get Ezra Bridger from that series too. So, could definitely be a possibility. And the last one, I really hope, but I don't know much about it. But I'll let you go over that character, Taylor.
Sure. Um, something quick, real quick though.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, I think it's important to keep in mind the timeline for the Mandalorian.
That's
I
true.
pulled up a timeline. I'm not sure how canon this is. This is on GamesRadar.com. The Mandalorian takes place 9 years after the first Death Star is destroyed, and The Force Awakens takes place 25 years after The Mandalorian.
That's
So
true.
I'm
So
not, yeah.
you'd have a young Luke Skywalker and Leia still.
hmm Um, and Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker spoilers, another important thing to keep in mind is I'm pretty sure I thought I heard this somewhere. I don't know if it's completely true or not, but when Rey is almost defeated by the Emperor
Mhm.
and all the Jedi are telling her to like get up, you know, go, you know, cap that mofo.
Yeah.
Um, you hear all their voices. I kind of took that as like, oh, it's all these great Jedi, and I mean, there's Anakin, I think Mace Windu, um, Obi-Wan.
And Qui-Gon's in
They're all,
there. Yeah.
yeah, I think so. They're all dead, and I'm pretty sure Kanan Jarrus, which was Ezra's master, um, was in there too. And I
Mm.
think Ezra, and I know Ahsoka was. So I'm assuming maybe by that point, Ahsoka's dead, and maybe Ezra is dead, so he might even be dead before the
Oh,
Mandalorian.
that's true.
And that could be.
I guess we don't really know his backstory, but there's also the thought of we got Ahsoka, we have Admiral
Hmm.
Thrawn, and we have Ezra Bridger. You could potentially get all three in this season,
Yeah.
and you could see the deaths of Ahsoka and Ezra, which is why they would speak to Rey at the end of the ninth episode.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, but going back to the other Jedi that are still around, there's also Cal Kestis,
Oh,
which
yeah.
if you haven't played Jedi Fallen Order, he is our main character. It takes place um, after Episode 3. Cal was a Jedi Padawan during the Purge of the Jedi. He survived, and he just kind of went into hiding. And then when the game starts, he is picked up by this ragtag group. Really, it's just two people, Seer Junda and Grease, probably the best character in that game. Um, and it's also important to note that Seer was also part of the Jedi Order. So,
That's true.
mhm. So those are two Jedi that are still alive um, at this point. Um, I think a Fallen Order 2 or something like that. Star Wars Jedi something I think is in the mix, in the making. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with that.
Yeah, I guess that would help describe what happens to you, but I would love to see a live action version of Cal.
And I think his name is Cameron Monaghan or something like that. He uh, did all his motion capture and stuff for Cal because he played Cal, and he looks just like he does in the game. Um, and he's not a stranger to live action because he did play the Joker
Oh,
on, was it Gotham? I think.
yeah, yeah, I think it's Gotham. Yep.
Mhm.
I
So
know who you're talking about now. Yeah.
yeah, that would
That
be
would be pretty
cool.
cool. Yep. If Cal came in, I would not be disappointed.
Hmm. I think it would be cool to um have him meet Ahsoka
Yeah.
because she has more of a tie to the Order, and she was a little older than him. She got more training. I think that would be uh, I don't know, just a fan of the game. I think it would be cool to see them get together.
That's true. That would be
Yeah.
cool. And more
Hmm.
lightsaber action is always a great thing.
Oh yeah, I
They do
think it
a
would
good
be.
job.
I think he'd be a good addition to the show. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't want to keep. I don't want them to keep. Uh, mix and matching all these different forms of media, like the movies, shows, books, comics. Even I feel like if they do too much intermingling, it might get too complicated.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. I kind of agree, but I guess we'll see where it goes from here. I guess before we wrap up, then do you have anything else you want to add? Any predictions? Anything like that?
Hmm. Uh, I don't have any prediction. Oh, hmm. I don't know why I said that. I do have a prediction for the next episode. I think
Okay.
he's gonna go to the temple that Ahsoka told him to go to, and then lost my train of thought.
That's
Lost my
okay.
train of thought. Scratch that.
I can pick up if you want to think for a second. So I think that we are obviously going to see Mando bringing them to the temple. I think it could be interesting if Mando and Grogu are not the only ones trying to get to this temple. Maybe there are some other Sith or something, or bad guys trying to follow them, and you obviously get a battle scene near the temple. That could be cool. That could be also where they introduce the new Jedi by coming and helping save the day. We saw Boba Fett at the end of episode one. I think it would be awesome to see at some point throughout the rest of the season another, maybe not even a cameo, because I'd count the first episode as a cameo, but I think a live like couple good section of an episode, it would be awesome to see him. Um, if you know anything about some of the comics or kind of lore about Boba Fett, he survives the Sarlacc pit, and in doing so, also obtains a green lightsaber. So it would be kind of cool to see him having some lightsaber action and getting in
I
there.
had no idea.
You had no idea.
I had no idea. I was just excited to see Boba Fett.
Yeah, but
That's awesome.
yeah, nah, yeah, legit. You see some strips where he like pops out of the Sarlacc pit. He has a green lightsaber. Like I would love to see some of that action in there. And I just we've seen a lot of lightsaber stuff and all the other trilogies. So I think the fact that they stick with the kind of shooty Western style Mandalorian things, I think I like that. It would be nice to have a little bit of lightsaber action thrown in the mix here. Obviously, we'll
Yeah.
have Moff Gideon with his dark saber, and I hope either Mando or Bo-Katan obtain that dark saber by the end of the episode or by the end of the season. But yeah, those are some of my thoughts. Did your train of thought pick up at all?
Uh, yeah. So I kind of think I do think something will happen when he's on his way to the temple because I feel like that's too straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then going back to what you just said about the dark saber, going over the notes here, I was thinking about the dark saber and the history of it. If for those of you who don't know, it was created by the first Mandalorian who was like trained as like a Jedi. That's and I don't know if this is canon. I'm just speculating. Uh, maybe since Beskar is resistant to the whatever tech the lightsaber uses,
Hmm.
um, maybe the dark saber is more powerful against Beskar, so he might get caught off guard by when he fights Moff Gideon. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Oh, yeah, that would
I
be
don't.
okay. That could be cool. That's definitely something that makes me think is, maybe Mando might get some lightsaber action too, where you might be right that I don't know much about the dark saber and its history, but I think you could be onto something with it being able to cut through the Beskil armor and tools. So I mean, he has that spear now, and he could go after the dark saber, but then the dark saber just freaking chops that spear in half, and he needs a lightsaber, and then we get maybe some Asoka action or whatever other Jedi's. We might have some lightsaber battles too in there. Maybe a
Maybe
small little
go ahead.
Grogu.
Maybe he'll do what he did with Ahsoka and put his arms up to block, but then Moff Gideon will pull a Star Wars and chop
Oh,
his arm
yeah.
off.
Every episode basically has some sort of limb cutting off.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
not Star Wars without it.
That's true. We haven't seen some. Well, we've seen one decapitation in season one where he chops that goon in half with the circular doors. But
Oh, that was awesome.
that was. Well, I think that wraps it up for this episode. Then, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that was good.
All right. Well, that was episode 10 of the SunRising podcast. Remember that we bring you a new episode every Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. These episodes are going to be a little bit different since they're coming out at different times. But if you want to support us, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button or the notification button to stay notified when we upload on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at SunRisingYT. You can also join our Discord where we can talk with you, just have fun, play some games. You can also send in possible topic suggestions in there. You can just be part of our podcasting studio. We can bring you in for an episode if you have a cool idea that you want to talk about. So if you want to join that Discord, just use the link in the description. We really hope everyone enjoyed, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye.
See ya.